Global livestock farming produces more than 340 million tons of meat per year and more than 900 million tons of milk. More than 80 billion terrestrial animals are slaughtered annually for human consumption. The scale is not abstract. It is industrial, massive, constant. The sector occupies around 77% of the planet's agricultural land when pastures and crops destined for feed are included. However, it provides less than 20% of global calories. Caloric efficiency is low, but protein density is high. That duality sustains the system. The problem is that livestock farming represents approximately 14% of global greenhouse gas emissions. Methane, emitted by the enteric fermentation of cattle, has a much higher warming potential than CO2 in the short term. In a world trying to contain the temperature increase below 1.5 degrees, that figure acquires strategic weight. The expansion of pastures continues to be one of the drivers of deforestation in critical regions such as the Amazon and parts of Southeast Asia. Water pressure is significant. Producing 1 kilogram of beef can require thousands of liters of water when the entire production chain is accounted for. Added to this is the massive use of antibiotics in intensive systems, which contributes to antimicrobial resistance, a threat recognized by the scientific community as one of the greatest health risks of the 21st century. At the same time, more than 1 billion people depend directly or indirectly on livestock farming for their livelihood. In rural regions, livestock is not just food. It is savings, it is financial security, it is cultural identity. And there lies the central tension of 2025. The system feeds, but it pressures. It sustains economies, but it emits gases. It generates employment, but it consumes resources. Investments in cultivated meat and alternative proteins already exceed billions of dollars. Biotechnology companies promise to produce animal muscle without raising entire animals. Governments debate climate taxes on meat. Consumers, especially in large cities, are beginning to question the origin of what they eat. The system is not collapsing, but it is not stable either. It is a system that has grown faster than its own capacity to self-regulate. And when a system reaches that scale, any disturbance can be amplified. 10 years later, technology is no longer optional. It is structural. Sensors monitor livestock health in real time. Algorithms adjust diets to reduce methane emissions through specific additives. Digital traceability makes it possible to know the environmental history of each batch of meat. Cultivated meat consolidates itself in developed urban markets. It does not replace traditional livestock farming, but it occupies a visible portion of the market. The cost has decreased thanks to improvements in bioreactors and synthetic culture media. However, that same year something happens that changes the conversation. In 2034, an unprecedented heat wave in the southern cone causes the death of hundreds of thousands of heads of cattle within a few weeks. The economic losses amount to billions. Agricultural insurance premiums skyrocket. The event does not destroy the industry, but it reveals its climate vulnerability. Adaptation is no longer rhetoric. It is survival. As a result of that event, several governments implement mandatory climate insurance systems and resilience funds for livestock producers. Insurers, for their part, begin to require adaptation plans as a condition for maintaining coverage. This accelerates the adoption of more heat-resistant breeds, optimized genetics, and automated shading systems in intensive operations. But the technological transition has a cost. In regions where electrical infrastructure is limited, digital monitoring and refrigeration systems cannot operate with stability. A new vulnerability is created: dependence on energy and connectivity. Some producers invest in solar microgrids and local storage, while others fall behind. At the same time, international pressure to reduce emissions leads major supermarket chains to begin labeling products according to their climate footprint. Urban consumers start comparing numbers. Meat ceases to be only flavor and price, becomes data, and when food becomes a metric, public perception begins to transform. Precision fermentation has reached industrial maturity. Dairy proteins produced by microorganisms compete in price with traditional products. Large dairy companies invest in biotechnology facilities. Financial markets begin to evaluate livestock companies according to their emissions intensity per kilogram of protein. Green credits become a condition for accessing capital. That same year, 2043, an emerging zoonotic outbreak linked to an intensive livestock complex in the Pearl River Delta, one of the most densely populated regions on the planet, forces the culling of millions of animals within weeks. It does not become a global pandemic, but it reactivates the debate over biosecurity in traditional systems. Public perception shifts. Cultivated meat positions itself as a consolidated industry that produces meat from small samples of animal cells, grown in large steel tanks where they receive nutrients and controlled conditions to develop as they would inside the animal's body. Instead of raising and slaughtering millions of cattle, the process replicates only the necessary tissue. Its expansion reduces pressure on intensive systems and forces the traditional market to rethink costs, efficiency, and sustainability. From that moment on, biosecurity protocols are tightened. The movement of animals between regions becomes more strictly controlled. Health audits are digitized. Epidemiological surveillance incorporates artificial intelligence to detect anomalous patterns in real time. However, this level of control also raises concerns about privacy and data sovereignty in the agricultural sector. Who controls the genetic and health information of livestock? What happens if a technological platform decides to suspend services to producers in certain countries? The transition generates cultural resistance. Movements defending natural meat gain political support in some countries. The debate is no longer purely technical. It becomes identity-based. And that cultural dimension slows, in certain regions, the adoption of new technologies, creating an increasingly fragmented global landscape. "30 years later, cultivated meat represents a significant fraction of consumption in large cities. Production plants resemble pharmaceutical laboratories. The energy supply is increasingly renewable. Traditional livestock farming specializes in high-value niches, such as certified regenerative production. Rotational pasture management is promoted as a tool for soil restoration. But in 2053, an incident occurs that tests the new system. A bacterial contamination identified as Clostridium synthetica, 53, detected in a poorly sterilized batch of culture medium, spreads silently through interconnected tanks in a cultivated meat production chain and forces the temporary closure of several facilities in Asia and Europe. Health authorities act quickly, but for weeks shortages occur in urban markets highly dependent on this type of protein. The episode does not invalidate the technology, but it reminds us that even advanced systems have critical points. After that incident, regulations on production redundancy become mandatory. Cities design strategic reserves of alternative protein, similar to the energy reserves of the past. Food security adopts a technological dimension. At the same time, automation reduces the need for labor in industrial livestock systems. Milking robots, drones, and autonomous systems displace rural workers. Governments implement workforce retraining programs, but the social impact is real. Entire communities must redefine their economic identity. A new ethical debate also emerges. If protein can be produced without animals, what place does traditional livestock farming occupy in a highly technified world? The answer is not uniform. In some countries, it is protected as cultural heritage. In others, it is gradually reduced for climate reasons. In many megacities, more than half of the animal protein consumed comes from cellular cultivation or fermentation. Methane emissions associated with livestock have declined in several advanced economies. Land once dedicated exclusively to grazing is now allocated to reforestation or diversified agriculture. International programs promote ecological restoration as a mechanism for carbon capture. However, in 2062, a severe solar storm impacts Earth's magnetosphere and causes overloads in high-voltage transformers across several industrialized regions. The regional power grid collapses intermittently for days, affecting highly digitalized urban centers. Cultivated protein plants, which depend on continuous electricity to maintain temperature, oxygenation, and microbiological control in their bioreactors, are forced to halt operations to prevent contamination or total loss of cellular cultures. Within hours, entire batches in growth phase must be discarded. Refrigerated supply chains begin to strain, and the cities most dependent on cultivated protein experience logistical delays, temporary price increases, and preventive rationing measures in some districts. A generalized food crisis does not erupt, but the tension is palpable. The event exposes a structural vulnerability. The advanced protein system depends not only on biotechnology, but on stable power grids, operational data centers, and constant connectivity. The protein of the future thus reveals a new fragility, deeply tied to complex energy and digital infrastructures. In response to that episode, many countries diversify their protein systems to avoid excessive concentration in a single model. Combinations of regenerative production, sustainable aquaculture, and decentralized microbial proteins are promoted. Meanwhile, rural communities that maintain traditional livestock systems face economic pressure. Some adapt through rural tourism and ecological certifications. Others gradually disappear. Land freed in certain regions generates legal disputes over ownership and use. Investment funds acquire large areas for carbon capture projects. A debate emerges over who economically benefits from the ecological transition. Half a century after 2025, the global protein system is hybrid. Traditional livestock farming still exists, but integrated with biotechnology, regenerative agriculture, and digital systems. Emissions associated with the sector have declined compared to 2025. Deforestation linked to livestock expansion is significantly lower in several regions. But the transformation was not linear. In 2071, a geopolitical dispute over key precision fermentation patents leads to temporary restrictions on the export of biotechnological inputs. Countries dependent on foreign technology face tensions in their food security. The geopolitics of protein becomes tangible. And in 2073, a failure in an optimization algorithm within an automated production network generates, for weeks, a nutritional imbalance in batches distributed on a massive scale. It is not a major public health disaster, but it forces a review of human oversight protocols in highly automated systems. The lesson is clear. When food depends on data, digital errors also produce physical consequences. Looking back, March 2025 was a silent turning point. The livestock industry did not disappear. It transformed under climatic, technological, sanitary, and cultural pressure. Each decade brought advances and tensions. Heat waves that revealed vulnerabilities. Outbreaks that reignited public health debates. Contaminations that tested trust in new technologies. Energy and digital failures that exposed emerging dependencies. The result in 2075 is neither a technological utopia nor a romantic return to the past. It is a more diversified, more technified food system and, in many respects, more efficient in emissions. But it is also more complex, more interconnected, and therefore exposed to new types of risk. Livestock farming ceased to be merely a rural activity. It became part of a global architecture of biotechnology, data, and climate regulation. What changed was not only the way protein was produced. The relationship between food, technology, and planetary stability changed. Because in the end, during these 50 years, the question was never only how much meat to produce. It was how to produce it without compromising the ecological and social balance on which every civilization depends. And that answer, decade after decade, was written at the intersection of innovation and limit.